Welcome. Tonight we journey back to the hushed, cobbled streets of a forgotten medieval city, Luxembourg, in the 14th century. The walls are high, the air still, and the rhythm of life moves with the slow tolling of bells and the shuffle of heavy boots across stone. This isn't the Luxembourg of today, prosperous, peaceful, and global. No, this is a smaller world, one built of damp wood and worn stone, a place where daily survival was a quiet, relentless task. In this story, we won't be walking with kings, at least not at first. We'll begin as someone quite ordinary, someone whose name never appeared in any book or scroll. You'll begin as a cobbler's apprentice, anonymous, invisible, and weary. And from there, as the hours drift by, we'll trace the life of a blind warrior king, delve into the mysterious tunnels carved beneath the city, and then finally dine in quiet opulence beside a noble courtier wrapped in brocade. So, take a slow breath. Let your eyes grow heavy. Let the sounds of the present soften, and allow yourself to step backward, quietly, into a time when life was slower, harsher, and full of stories worth hearing. Even the boring ones. Imagine yourself waking up in the cold. It's still dark. The shutters creak gently on their leather hinges, and a faint draught sneaks through the timber slats of your apprentice's chamber. You sleep on straw. It's damp. You always wake up with a sore back, and there is a faint ache in your hands before you've even lifted a tool. You are a cobbler's apprentice in the year 1342. You're 12, maybe 13. It's hard to remember now. Your master doesn't care much either way. The morning begins not with breakfast, but with chores. You light the small clay lamp and shuffle across uneven floorboards. You share the room with two other apprentices. One is already gone, likely sent to fetch water from the communal well. The other still sleeps, wrapped in a blanket that smells of soot and old tallow. Downstairs, the workshop is dim, cluttered, and thick with the smell of leather, glue, and mold. The glue is made from animal parts. It clings to everything. Your fingers are permanently sticky, your nails rimmed in black. You reach for the awl and begin the slow, careful task of punching holes into a stiff sole. The last pair of boots split down the heel after only a month. The customer was not pleased. Outside, Luxembourg City wakes slowly. The streets are narrow, the buildings tall and crooked, stone at the bottom, timber above. The upper stories lean slightly inward, as though the houses are whispering to each other across the alleyway. A bell tolls, first light, then another. It echoes strangely through the mist. The churches keep their own time, and sometimes they argue with each other. The bells never quite agree. You take a break, just briefly. You step outside into the street. The gutter runs down the middle. It stinks. Foul water,
food scraps, human waste. People empty chamber pots from windows above. You know to hug the walls. You've learned the hard way. There is no privacy in this city and no silence. Carts rattle, dogs bark, the blacksmith hammers, and merchants call from beneath heavy woolen cloaks. A woman walks past, her skirts trailing in mud. A priest murmurs Latin as he hurries to the chapel, boots clicking quickly on cobblestone. Back inside, the work continues. Your master is not cruel, but neither is he kind. He speaks little, except to correct you. Mistakes are met with silence or with a sigh. You eat only when the work slows. A crust of black bread, a smear of goose fat, and a mug of watered ale. Water is unsafe unless drawn fresh from the well. Even then, it's never trusted. You dream of becoming a journeyman someday. Perhaps you'll travel, maybe even to Metz or Trier. But for now, your world is no larger than the street outside and the cold workbench within. Night falls early in winter. The city gates will soon be locked. A curfew bell rings in the distance. You snuff the candle with pinched fingers and lie back on the straw. The room smells of feet and glue and smoke. You scratch a flea bite near your ankle. You try not to think about tomorrow. But tomorrow will come, just as it always does, and it will be just as cold, just as damp, and just as hard. Now, let the streets grow quiet. Let the boots of cobblers fade into memory, because now we turn our gaze upward, toward the castle, the court, and a figure who once stood at the very heart of Luxembourg's medieval legacy. His name was John, but the world came to know him as John the Blind. He was born not in Luxembourg, but in Prague, in the year 1296, a royal child, born to privilege. His father was Henry VII of the Holy Roman Empire. And so John's life, unlike yours as a cobbler's apprentice, began in warm chambers, amidst soft fabrics, silver goblets, and the hushed whispers of court. But yet this story of John is not one of luxury. It is a story of movement, of distance, of duty, and, ultimately, of quiet tragedy. At just 14 years old, John was appointed Count of Luxembourg, and not long after he was named King of Bohemia. It was an age when kings were expected to rule before they truly understood the world. And so, like many kings of his time, John was both powerful and powerless. He was surrounded by advisers, smothered by expectations, and drawn into wars that were not his own. In his youth, John was everything a medieval knight was supposed to be. He was well educated, multilingual, and deeply devoted to the knightly code. He fought often, too often, perhaps. From the forests of Silesia to the dry plains of Italy, John rode in the name of alliances, empires, and the endless churn of medieval diplomacy. But it was not in war that John's legacy grew strongest. It was in travel. Few medieval kings traveled as far or as frequently as John. He rarely stayed long in one place. He moved across Europe constantly, from Bohemia to Luxembourg, from France to Lithuania. He was both ruler and wanderer, a noble vagrant. Some called him restless, others called him ambitious, but many simply called him absent. He spent little time in Luxembourg itself, and yet it was under his name that Luxembourg grew. It became a duchy under his son, and its place within the web of European nobility became more secure than ever before. But even kings are not spared the creeping shadow of time.
The city above has quieted. The bell towers stand still. The shutters are drawn, and the cobbler's lamp has long since gone out. Now, let us go deeper. Beneath the streets of Luxembourg City, beneath the plazas, cathedrals, and crooked rooftops, lies a world carved in silence, a world known simply as the Cassmates. The word cassmate might not sound poetic, but here in Luxembourg it means something far more than stone and mortar. It means shadowed tunnels, secret stairs, hidden rooms where time seems to pool like still water. To find their beginnings, we travel back to the mid-16th century, when the city found itself wedged between empires. Spanish, French, Austrian, all sought to claim this rocky hilltop as their own. And so fortresses were built, and beneath them more fortresses, and beneath those a labyrinth. Over time, what began as small defensive chambers grew into an enormous military tunnel system stretching over 20 kilometers through the bedrock of the Bach promontory. These were the Cassmates. Imagine stepping into one now. The light fades behind you. The air is cool, permanently cool, even in the heat of summer. Your footsteps echo, soft and distant, absorbed by stone. The walls are rough and damp in places, carved carefully by soldiers, stonemasons, and engineers who likely never saw daylight again. Some tunnels are wide enough for cannon teams. Others are narrow, barely shoulder width. There are spiral staircases worn smooth by boots long turned to dust, and hidden slits in the walls where archers once waited, unmoving in the dark. You can almost hear a distant creak of a musket rack, the low murmur of a command whispered in Flemish or French. During times of siege, the Cassmates could house thousands of troops, along with horses, livestock, and supplies. Entire battalions vanished underground, waiting, listening, enduring. These soldiers lived by lamplight. They slept in alcoves, and they never quite knew whether tomorrow would bring light or flame. Yet oddly, most of these tunnels were never used for full combat. The enemy rarely reached them. They existed more as deterrents, a quiet threat beneath the earth, a promise that if you attacked this city, you would never truly conquer it. After centuries of shifting borders, the fortifications were slowly dismantled. In the 19th century, as treaties and diplomacy began to replace walls and cannon, but the Cassmates remained. They were too deeply rooted to remove, too intricate, too stubborn.
Archaeologists have explored only some of them. Others remain closed, silent. There are rumors, always rumors, of sealed chambers, forgotten passages, hidden caches of weapons or scrolls. One popular tale tells of a lost tunnel that once connected the castmates to a convent outside the city, allowing noblewomen to escape siege or spies to enter unannounced. But no proof has ever been found, just echoes in the stone and damp footprints that vanish into nothing. Today, a small portion of the castmates is open to quiet visitors. You can walk where soldiers once stood. You can feel the chill of old stone. But even in daylight, the silence lingers. They are not haunted, not in the usual sense, but they hold memory. And when the lights dim and the last footsteps fade, the castmates remember. So let your thoughts drift downward into the stone, into the stillness, and rest with the quiet ghosts of watchmen, tunnelers, and nameless soldiers who once waited far beneath the world they served. Now rise. Leave behind the cold stone of the castmates. Step slowly upward, your hand trailing along carved banisters worn smooth by centuries. You emerge not into sunlight, but into the dim golden flicker of candlelight. You are now within the quiet walls of a noble residence, perhaps even within the Grand Ducal Palace in its earliest form. You are not a cobbler, nor a soldier, nor a monk. You are a courtier, a minor noble, educated, well-dressed, and deeply aware of the weight of every silence. It is the late 1300s. Luxembourg is ruled by the House of Luxembourg, a dynasty now forgotten by many, but once among the most powerful in Europe. From its line came emperors, kings, and queens. But the grandeur you see is not loud. It is not brash. It is soft, measured, and meticulously arranged. Your day begins just after dawn, but you do not rise immediately. A servant opens your shutters. The breeze carries the scent of morning bread from the kitchens below. Your chamber is quiet, lined with carved wooden panels and embroidered tapestries. You dress slowly, layers of wool, linen, and finally a fine overcoat lined with fur. A small dagger is buckled at your waist, more decorative than practical. You move through the halls soundlessly. The floors are scrubbed stone, and your boots are polished. Other courtiers pass you. You nod, but do not speak. Too much cheerfulness is, frowned upon. Breakfast is light. A bowl of thick porridge, some dried fruit, and a goblet of warm spiced wine. The food is modest, but well prepared. You dine in silence. A scribe nearby reads aloud a list of visitors expected today. Diplomats from Brabant, a bishop's envoy, perhaps even a Flemish merchant bearing news from Bruges. Afterwards, you attend the court chamber, where you serve as an observer. The duke sits on a high-backed chair, flanked by guards in livery. He speaks little. His advisers murmur in Latin. You are here to listen, to notice, to remember. Later, in the mid-morning lull, you walk through the gardens. They are not extravagant, but they are orderly. Gravel paths, a small fountain, boxwood hedges clipped with care. You pause beneath a tree and open a scroll, a letter from a cousin in the Rhineland. They write of an upcoming marriage, a tapestry commission, and the rising price of salted cod. In the afternoon you attend a lesson in heraldry. The master of arms explains the shifting symbols of noble houses. You trace them on parchment, lions, towers, crescent moons. Each one carries meaning, often more than the words spoken at court. As evening nears, you dress again, this time in darker fabrics, finer embroidery. The evening meal is not a feast, but it is formal. You sit beside the Duke's steward. Roasted meats are carved at table, and servants bring dishes slowly, each one announced, but never described with enthusiasm. It would be indigniteful. You do not speak unless you are spoken to. When you do, your tone is careful, your words chosen with precision. Politics is not about shouting. It is about knowing when to remain silent. After supper, musicians play softly in the adjacent room, a lute, a flute, a voice singing in a language now lost. The fire crackles, a tapestry sways slightly in the breeze. Later still, you retire. In your chamber you remove your boots carefully. You sit for a